because then I can only think of Astrid.
All right, take two.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Andrew with Fact HVAC here for another episode of In Good Company. Today we have Alessandro Russo with us. His company is AstreaX. So we're going to learn a little bit more about him, his company, and just kind of have a good time talking for the next few minutes. So obviously made the intro for you already, Alessandro. So tell us a little bit about AstreaX, what you guys do, and kind of all that good stuff.
So we are an enterprise software development company, specializing in web application development. We have a long history and a lot of expertise in state projects, particularly the Department of Transportation. And then beyond that, we have a lot of experience in the mortgage industry and in the financial industry as well, just building a plethora of different types of applications and workflows that are needed.
That's awesome. So obviously, the way business is going, industry is going, people are always looking, especially in the startup space, looking for new ways to build software and develop. Do you guys do a lot in the startup space for new companies and things like that?
So we have. It's not necessarily where we focus our time, right? Especially when we focus on the enterprise software, they're usually more robust and complex systems. So we tend to have more of a mature clientele who have been around.
That's awesome. So how did you get into software development? Like, was that kind of always your goal? Is that what you worked towards? Tell us a little bit how you got at Astrea.
So my original goal in college was to be on Saturday Night Live. So I ended up in an entirely different field
Just a
of
little
industry, right? Just slightly different. So around that time in 2008, 2009, we had the collapse of the economy. And I was going for a degree in business administration, realized that pretty much everyone with that degree was working at a bank as a bank teller. So I decided to go for computers, as I had a whole bunch of friends who had received their computer science degrees, and then they got into programming. So I did the same thing there, and then started my career. Really had two different paths to take. One was more of the end goal of being a manager, or one of being a solution architect. So I chose the managerial role. So from there, started as a network administrator, graduated, moved to my next company. I was a technical support engineer for software products. Moved from there. The next company was sales engineer for again, a software web application. And then from there is basically when I came to AstreaX.
Okay.
And here my role sort of changed. Started off sort of as a project coordinator. I did business analysis work. I did project management, software development management, and then sort of led me to where I am right now of a VP of software development.
Nice. So when you think about all of those different things, and we'll get back to some of the personal side of things, but what is it that AstreaX that you like? What is it that you guys do different than everybody else? What do you bring to the table that all the other software development firms and outsourcing groups do? Kind of what's your niche?
Yeah, I mean, something we do really well is for us, the primary focus is that relationship, right? I think a lot of people are out there for, these quick contracts and they move and go on. For us, we really want to become partners with our clients, right? And develop that long-term relationship. So a lot of what we do across the entire software development lifecycle is very transparent. A lot of different solutions that we present, so the customer has the ability to make the decision. What do they want to spend their money on? How do they want their products to move, and so forth. So we really do handhold our customers in the nicest way possible, but really giving them what they want when they want it.
Right. And that's one of the things that I really liked about you and the company is, with Fact, our whole thing is we are a transparent company that provides real solutions for people in a fact-based way, right? And it's all about that lifetime value of the customer, as opposed to that quick turn and burn, getting them in and out, or outsourcing it, or in your world, a lot of the outsourcing overseas and things like that. For us, in the home services and trades world, it's subcontractors, right? And so, with us, we do everything in-house. And so it's nice to see other companies in an entirely different world, right?
Yeah.
The exciting world of software development, kind of having that same approach that we do with the transparency, making sure that the customer's journey the journey of the customer is what's most important, and that's one of the real reasons. One of the big reasons I like kind of what you guys do to differentiate yourselves from your competitors. So obviously, software development is such a huge, broad thing.
Yeah.
If AstreaX could go and get two major clients, like your big whale clients that you would get, what would those look like? Like, who would be the one that you would want to get?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say because, to be honest, we have the whale clients,
Nice.
right? State of Arizona for us is, we started with the Department of Transportation and now work across a number of different projects within different divisions and different departments of the state. So more states is what we're looking to grow into, right? From the mortgage industry side, we have the leading provider of services and products all in the mortgage space. So I mean, we sort of have those whale accounts, which we're proud of. So now it's building that relationship. And hey, if there's more whales along the way, then we're open to having those discussions.
So you, before coming to AstreaX, you were in sales and development for another software company, right?
Correct. Yep.
So obviously you like that, hustle mindset of going out and getting new clients and all of that. With your new role, how is that kind of jiving with you? And now that you're kind of managing a lot of different people and now you're not like in the trenches, kind of, what's that difference like for you?
For me personally, it's a better path, right? That day-to-day hustle, it's good, it's exciting when you're young and don't have kids and want to be on the road and want to talk to people every day. Right now, just having been in IT for over 10 years, and sort of done a plethora of roles, I enjoy strategizing. I enjoy thinking big picture. I enjoy giving direction and getting some feedback and, having that conversation. So where I am now, it's actually better for where my personal life is as well.
That's awesome. So obviously you made the statement that software development and managing all these architects and things like that was not your career path vision when you were younger. Talk to me a little bit about that. Obviously we got the business side out of the way. Tell me a little bit about that. You're obviously from New York.
Yep.
I shouldn't say obviously, that sounds bad, but you're from New York. SNL, something that was important, something that really kind of resonated with you. Kind of tell me a little bit about your background. How did you envision yourself on SNL?
So I grew up as the fat kid, right? Just love food. It came from an Italian family, so it's just, it was my comfort. So in that and going through school, you get picked on along the way, and then you sort of have a point, and not everyone hits it, but you sort of have a point to say, how do I embrace it, right? If I can't change my weight overnight, for say, how do I learn to love myself? So part of that is when I learned that I had that comedy inclination, right? I enjoyed, making people laugh. I was fairly witty, at least when I was younger. So it just started down that path, right? As I started to do plays, I started to do comedy competitions all in high school. Same thing in college, was a number of plays and comedy plays, and I joined an improv group for a small stint. I went to New York City and did a few comedy sets at Gotham Strip Live and so forth. So that's how it started, right? But it's not. My goal was to be on Saturday Night Live, right? Looking at where they are today, I think I could give them tremendous value. But it was one of those things that it's difficult, right? My long-term end goal was to have a family, was to have kids, and not necessarily years, 20 years down the line, but fairly soon.
Right.
Plus, it's always hard, it's difficult for an immigrant family to not have very successful children from day one, right? So it was tough for me to say, just trust me, because I wanted to make my parents proud.
Right.
So that's what sort of got me out of comedy and then into business and where I am today.
So how do you meld those two? Because obviously so different.
Yeah.
Different, not just in the corporate environment, right? There's always you hear things and you think, oh man, this would be a perfect time to say this. So how do you stamp that down for yourself? How do you maintain your professionalism in meetings?
So I think that background sort of helped me in two different paths. I have, where I am today, that joy of comedy, I think, allows me to connect to multiple people. So I am able to connect to staff members and individual contributors, even other department heads and so forth, when the opportunity is there. Doing the comedy and the stand-up as well, it also reinforced in me that I do have a real strong desire of being in front of people. So my path of basically where I am today is, like you mentioned, it's the head of a lot of different departments, a lot of senior people, managers, strategizing with CEOs and so forth. So I have that little joy that I had in the past. I'm still there just because that's where I've worked towards.
That's awesome. I mean, it's always good, sometimes we think about the industries that we're in or the paths that we take, because you're not just an employee of AstreaX, right? You have that entrepreneurial spirit, and even doing the entertainment side, whether it was the comedy, the improv, or the plays, it's always putting yourself in uncomfortable situations to push through for an end result, whether it's a good show or somebody really laughing and having a good time, or seeing a product all the way through to completion, or challenging yourself in a new arena. So as I know you personally, so I know you have two young kids. How do you balance that entrepreneurial side and the business development with being a father and a husband?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it's tough. I don't think anyone has the silver bullet on how to do it. I think it's absolutely necessary to be able to balance work and family life. For a long time, I struggled with it, right? I still struggle with it, daily. Especially with COVID, I mean, we all went remote. So what was the excuse for me not to start work at 7 and stop at 5, right? So you just worked a lot more, right? In addition to, finding new clients and new customers and overseeing multiple projects and people. There's a lot of time needed for that. So it's really just a mind shift, right? I think about, 6 to 7 months ago, I just had a shift and said, you know what, at 6 p.m. I'm done, right? I'm done. I'll silence my work email. And then, at 9 o'clock at night, I may check it, right? And see what's going on, and then if someone calls me, of course I have to answer, but I sort of find the opportunity now to say, I'm not going to work.
Right.
Same thing at the morning is helping my wife get the kids ready for, school and breakfast and vitamins. I'll not start work now until like 8:30, where I used to start at 6 a.m. So it's just a mind shift of saying there's certain times that I need to focus on the family, as close to 100% as possible. That's what's been working for me.
And that's awesome. And that's in the entrepreneurial world, in the business world, that's always such a huge thing, is finding that, it's the cliche term, the work-life balance thing, right? But it is really a lot of work to find that balance, to set those boundaries, because it does set you up for success, not only just in your career, but with your family and all of that. So it's awesome to hear. A lot of people, I think, like you said, with COVID, people being at home more, they found themselves maybe working more, withdrawing a little bit. And I think, a lot of people struggled with that. Like, it was a real struggle mentally and emotionally for a lot of people. And so that's kind of cool to see, it's always a daily grind for you to kind of find that balance. Because, like you said, there's no magic bullet to solve that. And so that's awesome. So tell me a little bit, how long have you been married?
So going on 12 years this October.
Okay,
so
awesome.
So 12 years marriage, and then we've been together at least 2 years before that.
Nice. And 2 kids. How old's Giuseppe?
So Giuseppe, my son, is 5.5, and then my daughter Gabriella is 3.5.
That's awesome. So, I just have a son, so I don't have the little girl to worry about so much. How is it being a girl dad? Like,
it's pretty much what everyone says,
Right.
right? You're as the father, I'm like at her beck and call, right? Even when she does something wrong or she annoys me, that frustration, that anger is a fraction of what it could be for my son, right? For him, I want very militant. You've got to do this. This is just what needs to be happening. For her, it's whatever,
Right.
whatever. So it's your very stereotypical relationship.
Nice. So you'd mentioned before that you come from an immigrant family. your family's from Italy, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Big family here in Arizona, or?
So, yes, as of now, we're big in Arizona. So, we were all from New York. And then my mother's brothers, they all sort of moved out and did their own thing. Just over the years, 2 of them actually settled down in Arizona. About 10 years ago, when I was looking for work, I actually came out to work for my uncle. So that was the network administrator job. So that's what got me on the West Coast.
Oh, nice.
Then I ended up moving for probably the next 5 to 6 years. Lived in California for a little bit, and then we ended up moving back to Phoenix. At that point, my parents and my 2 younger brothers, they ended up moving shortly after my parents as well. So now pretty much all my family is located somewhere in the state.
Right, that's awesome. How do you like being in Arizona? I mean,
yeah, I mean it's Arizona, right? I loved it for the first few years. Still love it for certain reasons, but it's tough to live somewhere like San Diego and then move here where we're just dying at 110 and 120 degrees. Right. So there are pros and cons, is what I learned in every place that you live, right? Even San Diego was great, but I would work every single day until I died, right? And there would never be retirement. So there's always those pros and cons, but for the most part, aside from the summer heat, it's not a bad place to live.
That's awesome. So one of the big things that we talk to everybody about that comes on the show is what you're looking forward to in your industry for the next few years and kind of where you see yourself. So software development, we understand it's not going anywhere. Things are going to get more difficult with emerging markets and things like that. So what kind of excites you about your industry and where you see yourself going in the next few years?
So we do have a lot of growth on the horizon just with our service work as well, right? So we talked a little bit about the whales. We are in discussions with a lot of other states as well as helping them with their Department of Transportation projects. So a lot of growth on that avenue. We also have a product as well. It's a web application. It's a super portal, right? That basically a state and all its agencies would hook into, and then that becomes the single point of location for users, right? So instead of knowing 15 different passwords, I'm going to go to one central portal, and I'll know everything that's going on in every agency, and when my dog license needs to be renewed, and my driver's license, and so forth. So love to see that sort of expand as well, and for us to create a product division. I think there's an appeal to any software development company of having a little product and being self-sustaining in that sense. Right. And then, like you mentioned, I'm a partner as well as an employee. In 10 years, I would love to be strategizing 100% of the time, right? Just thinking big picture, growth of the company, and maybe not being so heavily in the weeds with different projects.
Right. Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. The goal within Good Company is to sit down and learn about new companies in different markets. Obviously, Fact HVAC being heating and air conditioning company. We want to expose people to a lot of the other businesses that are around here in the Valley and in Arizona and the people behind those companies. So remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and all the other socials that you can think of. Alessandro, thanks for coming and sitting down and talking with us.
Definitely, thanks.
About the exciting world of software development, but more just kind of learning about how you're managing your life, your family, and kind of seeing that all grow along with growing a company. So that's awesome, man. Thanks you for coming and hanging out with us today.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man.